Let's face it, aging typically ends with aches and pains. But what if it didn't have to? I vote for longevity, and so should you. Welcome to Be Curious, the podcast dedicated to creating awareness about what the human body truly needs to thrive. I'm your host, Gabby, certified integrative health coach, massage therapist, health enthusiast, and proud mom, joined by my very own Prince Charming, Yanni. Curiosity is essential for living fully. It's what ignites the fire within us and fuels our journey towards thriving. Together, we explore this idea by unpacking essential tips, personal stories, and research-backed strategies that empower you to not just survive, but truly thrive. Our goal is to inspire curiosity and empower you to advocate for your own well-being. Remember, our language may not be perfect. After all, nobody's perfect. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Be Curious podcast, where our main goal is to cultivate curiosity. We specifically have been on a long journey in discovering what wellness looks like. And before we get started, we wanted to introduce ourselves. So my name is Gabby. I'm 40 years young. And in my lifetime, I have overcome many obstacles that had turned my wellness into the worst case scenarios. And my husband, Yanni, my very own Prince Charming, has a very similar story.
Yeah, indeed. I'm 39 years old, young as well. Life brought me, I would say, a blockage that I was not expecting at all. And with that, we learn new ways about healing ourselves, ways that we didn't know that was possible because we didn't learn about it. So yeah, and today we're kind of relearning and going back to the basics where we realize, I think, well-being is in that direction.
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is that people think that they are invincible and doctors will take care of us when situations arise. Doctors these days help us deal with immediate situations, but then we're leaving those offices without knowing what to do next.
No solutions.
And our mission is to share the knowledge we have acquired throughout our journey.
Also, we want to try to simplify all the information towards health, because sometimes people could use specific words that are harder for other people to understand, or for someone like us who's just like normal people doing our job and coming back to home, taking care of the kid and stuff like that. But there's more into it that is very important for everyone to know, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the way we structured our podcast is we want to go over the three fundamental things that require the human body to thrive.
Yes.
The first one is food.
Oh yeah, big part of it.
Huge part of it. Actually, I would even argue it's the most important part.
I agree with you.
Then there's fitness. The body can't thrive off of being stagnant, being
not moving, lazy.
Not moving. Yeah, exactly. Sitting on a couch and just waiting for life to pass by. And the third aspect is freedom. What we consider freedom is being able to be self-aware and identify what is going on within.
Yes.
Especially even outside of your environment, if things are stopping you from thriving because you're holding it all in, I would argue that that's not even freedom.
I agree with you. And also freedom depends on a lot of perspective that everyone can have. Freedom is also, I think, when you're free of bad thoughts in your head all day long. Like freedom is about feeling good inside of you and being authentic to yourself. And that will make, I think, a difference, and trying to have as low volume of stress possible in your life that plays a huge impact in your well-being.
Yeah, this is something else that people disregard. Stress is a huge contributor to chronic illnesses, chronic pain especially.
Oh, yeah.
And I will be sharing a little bit about that later on in this episode. But first, we would like to start with food. And because this is our first episode, we would like to be a little bit more general when it comes to the questions.
Yeah.
But I do invite you to write down questions in the comment section where we could perhaps integrate them in our next episodes.
For sure.
So the first question that that is actually pretty general but very important is, what does nourishment mean to you?
For me, I would say now with the knowledge that I have and because we became curious about it, it totally changed. Food for me, nourishment mean is to give my body the fuel it needs to be able to sustain any storm that would come or any battles that I have to go through, because I live with pain every day. So for me, it's even more crucial to be careful with what I eat, especially now knowing that when you do nourish your body correctly, you're going to have all the nutrients that you need and the vitamins and the minerals and all what the body needs just to thrive. And to realize that when you're actually lacking those nutrients, that means you're gonna start having some failure in the body. And not just that, if it's just one organ, it might not necessarily fail, but if it's not working properly, it's gonna create some kind of inflammation in the body that will create pain for someone like me. So nourishment is actually what will help me to feel less pain or more pain, depending on the direction I take.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because protein, fruits and vegetables where you get your vitamins and minerals, and obviously some in protein as well, but also fats.
Yes.
Fats play a crucial role in hormone balances and, brain health.
Yeah.
So these are things like there were generations where they were demonizing fats. Yeah. They were saying, don't eat fats, it'll make you fat. But then you're now stuck with like a huge amount of people who are suffering from things because they had these strict diets where they were so limited. And
I think what people need to understand about the food and nutrients, like I said earlier, is not all food are filled with good stuff in it.
They're not created equal.
Exactly. And today we hear a lot about organic food and people's like, is it new? No, it's not new. Actually, organic food is the oldest.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it all goes down to also the quality of the soil.
Yes.
So if the soil is not well treated, then it will not give the nutrients to that apple or to that, to whatever it is that you're growing in the soil. And then on top of that, you spray it with pesticides that are known disruptors to your body.
And on our side, we realized that maybe doing our own food might be even better, because the love that you're going to give to your food, that love is going to give it back to you. Meaning more love, more nutrients, more the plant's going to feed you back on the way you should thrive with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So every time I'm struggling with this now, every time I go into a grocery store, I actually have a video where I'm scanning the whole grocery store, and it's actually pretty big, but the organic section is like
so small.
This small. I understand that it could be costly. I understand that it could be a little bit taboo. Maybe a lot of people don't understand the difference, but it's not equal.
It is. Yeah.
Everyone.
There's a reason.
If you were to test your body, your blood levels or your urine or your stool and check how much nutrients versus pesticides and toxins that you have in there, it would startle you. And I think that this is why we're creating this curiosity around it, because there is a difference. Because
we also known by doing some tests ourselves that we were low on some vitamins. And since that time, I did change a bit my protocol to make sure my vitamins level will be good, because even if you eat good food, if you don't make a mix of different kind of foods to have all kind of nutrients you need, if you lack in one, just one could be a problem.
Mm-hmm. Another thing is going into the other aisles that are not whole foods. So we just focused on whole foods right now, which every human body thrives off of whole foods, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm not going to demonize the other aisles. I just hope that people avoid them as much as possible. Like they're just an add-on to your little guilt.
Yeah,
your little
minimize it at least.
Yeah, you minimize it. Yeah. And if you are to purchase things like that, the important thing to know is how to read ingredient lists.
Oh yeah.
If you go to a store and they have a variety of milks where, for example, the milk that I buy is cashew milk and it'll be made with 3 ingredients only. Mm-hmm. So there's cashews, water, and I don't recall what the third ingredient is, but usually the less ingredients there are, the better it is for you.
Yeah.
So if you pick up a box and the first one's sugar, sugar is like I've actually, side note, I've seen a study where they put two brains together. One that a person had taken cocaine.
Yeah.
And the other one was someone who just ate high levels of sugar. And the parts of the brains that were highlighted and activated, they were the same in both. Which makes you wonder, like...
Yeah. And sugar, you get addicted to sugar.
Exactly. Just like you would in any other drug substance. If it activates those parts of the brain, I would argue that that's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even, I would say, even change your taste buds.
It does change your taste buds. It does.
From experience from having a lot of sugar in my life, like a lot of sugar, to almost no more like fake sugar, more in my fruits. But like, yeah, it's major difference.
Yeah, and high levels of sugar, obviously, we don't have to... Everybody knows that it leads to weight gain. It leads to hormonal imbalance. It leads to a dysregulated nervous system. I mean...
A lot of things.
I would even say...
Inflammation itself is a problem.
Inflammation. If you have a pre-existing problem, it's just going to accentuate it. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that you... we had talked about this previously where... obviously, foods are not created equal. And what you find in a box will never give you what you can get in a whole food.
For sure.
So if you think, like, we already know that, like, the food we eat is not, we can't eat enough of it. We can't get enough nutrients just by eating it. We have to supplement. Yeah. Imagine eating from a box. It doesn't give you anything. There's no nutrients in a box. Even if they say added vegetables. Yeah. There's not even enough in there to be, like if you did a pee test and then you checked, it wouldn't even say that you ate vegetables that day. Don't be fooled.
Yeah. And even if there would be nutrients in it that could be good for the body, I'll give you an example of me who has IBS. That means my stomach and my guts are really going fast. So for someone like me who eats whole food, it's good because if I chew it correctly and it goes down to my stream, it will actually take the nutrients of it because it only has like one step to do. But if I buy food that is actually transformed, my body will have to take more time to separate all the particles together, so absorb what it needs. So having a problem like me who doesn't even have time to be capable of absorb the normal nutrients in whole foods, having those food will make it worse. So I'm not going to gain nutrients at all. Even if there's some in it, it's just going to go right through. I might going to flush toxin as well. And that's going to probably be a reason why my body is not as worse versus what other people could live. But it's important. The food is the closest you're to the whole food, the closest you're to the pure nutrients that you need in your body.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm actually glad that food is getting traction. Oh, yeah. JFK in the United States he's been creating this huge buzz. Like whether or not anyone's into politics, I'm not really ignorant about politics, but I think it's the message, right? Yeah. You see this, I don't even know how old he is, 60 or 70 years old. 70 and he's in shape. He's in better shape than most people our age.
Than the past person in charge of the health system.
Yeah, if we put a side-by-side picture.
No judgment, just facts.
Yeah, just facts. I mean, I would go a long way to trust someone with how they physically look. Yeah. If they physically look like they did the work, then I'm going to trust their opinion over someone else's.
And especially if you're 70 years and older and keeping muscle mass is harder. Yeah. So that means the person also has knowledge, and you know what? He proved that his works.
Techniques work. Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be 70 and to be able to do pull-ups and do calisthenics with people younger than him, it's amazing. It's impressive. Yeah, absolutely. So I think when it comes to food, it's been pretty clear. Focus on quality, not quantity.
I agree.
Quality goes a long way. And my personal experience with food that ties into fitness, which is what we're going to go into, is I'm a person who used to work out a lot. And although I'm a sporty person, so I can't make an excuse that I hate to work out, I just like to move my body. It regulates me, okay? To each their own. Yeah. But I was working out so much and my body started to actually grow. Like it started to get inflamed, actually. Yeah. And a lot of people were like, how can you be gaining weight if you're so you're fit and you're doing
working out, everything? Yeah.
Yeah. And I slowly learned that if you go with your age, you go with the fact that I'm a woman in her 40s, I shouldn't be trying to aspire to be a 20-year-old athlete. I should be curating to my cycle. It's really important. So the way you work out is important as well. So females are just a little bit more complicated than men.
For sure.
And the one sustainable way I was able to regulate myself and literally just shed all that weight, because food is mainly the reason why I saw all my results. But in order for myself to avoid getting inflamed, I heard a celebrity fitness trainer named Ben Bruno.
Okay.
He implements the 2-2-2-1 method. So what that means is that you literally take 30 to 40 minutes a day. I mean, whatever your jam is, 30 minutes is the minimum. And you integrate 30 minutes of exercise every day, including one rest day. And what that does is it reminds your body that you're going to show up for it every day, even if it's just for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And 30 minutes, guys, it's really not a lot. I mean, you can put that anywhere you want in your day, but I choose to do it in the morning where it sets the tone for my day. And if you look at most people who have the physique to prove that they've been doing a great job, they all start in the morning. So if you can eventually get to there, kudos to you. So this strategy involves 2 days of cardio, 2 days of resistance training, 2 days of mobility work, and one rest day, which is genius. It's brilliant. I'm just like, I get to rest today. And if you think about it, cardio can be anything from walking to running.
Just walking. 30 minutes a day.
I was walking all summer and I lost an incredible amount of just body fat just because I was walking. I wasn't even doing any running.
And you can walk at work. When I was working,
you did. You would go on your lunch hour.
For the last year that I was working, every time I had my lunch, I was doing my 30-minute walk, and my friend sometimes was joining me. And I was doing it just because I knew moving is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's 2 days of cardio. So you can, I love walking every day, but whatever, everyone could do what they want.
Yeah.
2 days of resistance training, it could be as simple as using your own body weight. Okay. Like if you want to do a push-up, if you want to do some squats, those are body weight exercises. Or you can be fancy and use a little resistance band. Doing this movement with a resistance band engages all of your arm muscles. And the point you made earlier was muscles. You have to keep muscles, and in order to do that, you need to build muscle, even if it is through resistance training that is very simple and basic.
I agree with you. And talking about muscle, that's bring for me, I would say my past self was seeing fitness more like an option to fill my ego, to look good, to look masculine and stuff like that, like probably a lot of people. But the truth is, when you realize and you flip on the other side, I would say you start realizing that muscle mass or flexibility or just moving every day is not for just the physique and good looking. It's for longevity. And I've been always be a person who wants to live like the longest that I could because I love living. So I'm like, now knowing the reality behind it, it makes me want to train more. Because if you don't understand what you're actually doing or for the reason you're doing it, or if the reason is not good enough for you, you might not do it. But if you have a perspective of, muscle mass is important because the older you get, you lose muscle mass.
It's called muscle atrophy.
And also, it's very important to do flexibility movements, stretching, and stuff like that. Because also, if you're older and you do fall, the more mushy you are, the more
mobility you have.
You're gonna have less chance to get injuries. And the older you get, what could kind of screw you over is an injury. You fall down, you break an ankle, you break a hip, and these could be very fatal. So if you have the muscle mass to hold yourself, and even if you do fall, you have the flexibility and your body is not like a brick. So that way, it's going to make you live longer. And that alone should be enough for each of one of us to want to live longer.
That's a great point. When I was doing massage therapy, I was helping a lot of people that some elderly people who would come back from a surgery, and the less amount of muscles they had, the least amount of success they had of recovery.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, your bones need muscle to stay together. And if you don't have any, then the bones will just disconnect again. They'll just,
They hold it together to be stronger.
Absolutely. So that's a really good one. But you touched on mobility, and that's the third two. So there's cardio, resistance, and mobility. And mobility can range anywhere from Pilates to yoga, where you're making sure that all of your body parts articulate in the right way. So, like an arm should go from up to down all the way through.
Yeah.
I remember when we first started stretching the arms and getting mobility, you weren't able to go backwards
at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're supposed to be able to go from up all the way back.
I was not even.
And he wasn't able to.
And even still, I have a hard time to go as much as you do.
You've improved a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
The point is that the more you do that, whether it's hip mobility, arm mobility, spine mobility, that is so important.
Yeah.
So once you start, and that makes it really fun too, because you're not doing the same thing every day.
Yeah.
There's only 2 days you're doing of each.
It's more fun to bring diversity in everything you do.
Yeah.
Food-wise, training-wise, everything. Yeah.
And the good thing about that is that you could actually tune in to how you're feeling that day.
Yeah.
So let's say you had a restless sleep. Let's say you had a hell of a day the night before.
Yeah.
You're not going to do cardio that morning. Like you're just, your cortisol is going to be like,
mobility, or do something about.
Do something a little bit more relaxed that you need a little bit more attention and focus in doing. And it doesn't have to be sweaty all the time. It is important to sweat because that's where you get rid of all of your toxins. But there are other ways. Like you can do that on your cardio day. You can go in a sauna. You can go in a really hot bath. You can do a couple of jumping jacks and get a little sweat on. And what matters that you get your hot, like when your body gets a little glistening, like that's the goal, right? Like there are days where you have to dump out toxins, like I said, in cardio days, but it doesn't have to be an excessive amount of sweating where I can go work out with my hair like this, throw it up in a ponytail. It didn't look like I was a sweat machine that day.
But also to go towards that direction about doing some cardio. What I've learned also towards very important for fitness is, yes, sometimes people would rather not do too much cardio, but why it's important is doing cardio specifically will be able to bring more oxygen in your body. And I speak with experience in the fact that I have cluster headaches, and the only way to really neutralize it is to have pure oxygen, breathing over 15 liters per minute of oxygen. And that stops my crisis. And we know that the pain is caused because it's kind of a lack of oxygen. What does that mean, the lack of oxygen? Like we're breathing every day. But the truth is you have a certain level of oxygen inside of your body, and your organs need that oxygen to function properly. And if you're lacking some oxygen, they can be like out of breath and always like having a hard time to work. And knowing that, one day I was with Gabby, we're training, one of the biggest crises hit me in April. And I was waiting to receive an oxygen tank at home to be able to go through my crisis. And she's like, you know what? We know oxygen creates something. Try to go on the bike and do it. And I did it. And in 5 minutes, oxygen came in and I felt all the bubbles pop in my head.
Pressure release.
Pressure, I'll create a certain release. And now what I realize, if I'm capable of having more oxygen in my body every day, that will help me prevent some pain because the pressure inflammation will be different. So oxygen is crucial. So when you understand that cardio is not just to be able to run more if you want to run after. No, it's bringing oxygen to your organs who need it and probably all struggling with out of breath. And that's very important.
Yeah, I love that. And then to wrap that all up, there's that one day in the whole week where you could do absolutely nothing. You could go for a walk anyway, but it's like mostly encouraged that you emphasize rest. So what does that mean? It's not just couch potato. It could be, if you're a very busy person, then being on the couch all day could be your rest day. But I would argue that that's the day I go get a massage.
Why not?
Treat
yourself.
I did a video on my social media where I said, okay, I worked out too much. So I slacked on that. Yeah. Then I started to eat well, started to see my results. Yeah. But then mentally, I was struggling. So then I would eat a whole box of Oreos that night. And that defeats the whole purpose. Oh, yeah. Okay. If you're mentally struggling with something, trauma, toxic people in your life, I mean, I have quite the experience with that. Yeah. You have to learn how to create boundaries. You need to learn how to tell people how you feel and what you want that outcome to look like. Because if if you don't figure out what's going on inside, become self-aware of how you feel or how to have cultivate emotional intelligence. Side note, emotional intelligence is when you can identify an issue, but also not be overreactive to it.
Yeah. And take a look at it from a longer distance of view to have a different perspective of your moment as well.
Yeah. So my father started living with us, and that changed the whole dynamic of our household and all the responsibilities that come with it, all the struggles that come with it, all the people who agree or disagree with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I thought I could handle all that. I was like, I got this. And my body decided otherwise. I mean, I know that every day I could show up.
Yeah.
Right? But then my body was keeping the score.
Yeah.
It was
the
saying
stress of it.
One more day where she doesn't acknowledge that this is difficult.
Yeah.
Another day where she acknowledges that this isn't difficult. And eventually I woke up and my body just wouldn't allow me to move.
Yeah,
I mean, I could move. I could move, right?
But
my
too.
nervous system, was so activated that it would hold on to my muscles. When your nervous system is so charged, it is surrounded by your muscles. So it'll have your muscles twitch or jam.
Yeah.
And now seize, right? And so now I was in situations where like I would just turn my neck and my whole back would seize.
Yeah.
And I would have to go see a massage therapist, a chiropractor, an acupuncture just to get my mobility back.
Yeah. Even if you eat well, you train, we're talking about stress now.
Yeah.
So that stress create that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why I created a guide called Optimizing Your Wellness, Food, Fitness, Freedom.
Yeah.
And in the freedom section, there's actually 7 quizzes on there that are self-assessments that are known. Like one of them, let's see, I have it right here. A Tony Robbins, the Myers-Briggs, the ACE test, the Gretchen-Rubin quiz, the love languages. I mean, there's so many self-assessments in there that after doing these quizzes, I realized, oh, this is my personality type. And I thought I was this one.
Yeah.
Or imagine being in a job that you hate, like sales, because that's the only one available. Well, it's making your life miserable.
Yeah.
Okay. You need to change that up.
Yeah.
Or another one where the ACE test is realizing if you've had a traumatizing upbringing, which is something that I had to face.
Yeah.
And realize that my upbringing wasn't what it
was not easy at all.
It wasn't easy at all. So even after finding that out, I had to face that and accept it. So, because until I accepted it, I was holding on to it. Agreed.
But for someone who come a long way like you, it's pretty impressive to see someone so like nice and have really great thoughts and help people around her that she really cares about. It's rare to see that.
I mean, I didn't pay him to say that. He's my husband. He loves me.
Yeah, but you also took 3 or 4 years of studying to help me in my journey and talking about the stress that you live. On my side, when she said like, okay, I'm eating well, I'm moving, but her stress level, she's going to seize. It depends on people. For me, I was in sales. For 21 years, I manage over 150 employees, so I know what stress is. I lived stress all my life, but it was like, I would say, control stress. And the day that in 2019, something very crazy happened to me that I was not in control of our businesses anymore, so that creates a stress on me that I never lived. And I gained it, like I was 140 pounds, and I gained it 32 pounds in like 3 months. I became inflamed everywhere. And it was not because of the food, because I always ate not great in the past. Never gained weight in freaking 36 years old, 36 years, I'd never gained weight, no matter what I eat. And she can prove that I ate really not great.
He's one of those people that have been skinny his whole life.
Yeah. So for someone like me who gain weight, it's because I lived a traumatic PTSD, I don't know what you call it, PTSD, an experience that was so traumatic that my body like just gave up on me. That created inflammation, was there for 2 years, created damage in my body. When the chaos in my life stopped business-wise and we're back to normal, all my inflammation went away, lost 35 pounds in like 2 months. And went back to my normal size. But with the damage that was done from inflammation. Yeah. But that just proved that not because you're eating well, you're doing fitness and moving well, that means you're going to lose weight. Because I gained weight just for stress.
Yeah. So the important takeaway is the trifecta,
Yeah.
right? If you really want to thrive, like we're talking about thriving, okay? If you want to survive, do what you think is best for you, okay? But if you realize that something's not working and you feel like you're getting limited, I mean, I'm 40 and I accomplished my first front flip at 40 years old because I dedicated myself to seeing how far can I actually go? Like, this can't be my life sentence. I mean, my father's 68 years old and suffers from cognitive decline. That's really young.
And it's been at least 5 years now.
Yeah, and that's due to being neglectful.
In all the 3F.
In all of the 3Fs, Or if you want to be excessive in all of them, like, it doesn't work either because you have to be flexible as well.
For sure.
Like, cheat days are okay, guys. We're not talking about being a saint or being perfect in all three aspects, but I'm going to be honest, it's a 90-10 rule. It's not an 80-20 rule. Okay? You could do 80-20, but if you really want to show people what's up, it's a 90-10 rule.
Yeah, because when you do understand all the food that you're eating, all it affects you, and fitness, moving, and specifically like the stress. And please, stress is a real thing. I didn't believe as much as it until the day that I got half blind from one eyeball. Stress is cortisol. Cortisol is a part of the body that's creating because of stress. And sometimes when you have too much, it can leak in your eyeball.
I mean, this was the case for you.
Yeah.
And it's not unheard of because someone diagnosed you with that. So it's not uncommon.
But stress is cortisol.
Yes.
In the past, I didn't know that was that.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
We have gone around everything. I'm pretty sure we, told you all the information that you need to know for today.
Yeah.
We like to end our podcast with two fun things. One of them being a statistic that I don't know about.
Yeah, I would say the statistic will not be as fun, but I would say a statistic that I think is very important for people to be aware of.
Okay, tell me.
Okay, so we did talk about that, now in the newborns coming, there's more and more children that unfortunately are
have autism.
Exactly. And I think this is a really important thing to look up. And before I say why, I'm just going to give the stats here because I think it's going to say a lot.
It's going to speak for itself.
So in 1970, it was estimated that one kid on 10,000 would have that. We have to just confirm that with the research we made, and in those times, they didn't actually add as much access to information as today we have.
The technology even.
So it could have been less than that, but it's just to show where it's going. But later on, you're going to see how more crazy it's coming. And after that, if we go in 1995, it was estimated that one kid on 1,000 had that. And where the kick-in starts is in the 2000. In the
That's
2000,
20 years later?
That's 25 years later, that 10,000 from 1,000. But let's just say that research was more done. Some had it that they didn't record in the past, stuff like that. Okay, fine. Let's keep on going. Now, in the 95, there was one kid in 1,000. In 2000, 5 years later, where they now did all the statistic, one kid on 150.
Excuse me?
Yeah. And wait, it's getting worse. That's the thing. So in the 2000,
but in 5 years.
Yeah, let's say statistics were not all there and people getting worse. Now they're bunching everything in. Okay, it cannot be worse than that. You know what? 1 on 150. But where's the kickoff is in the 2000 to 223, let's just say this year. Now it's 1 on 36 children who will be born with autism.
And tell me why.
I would say personally, if you don't eat good food and you're filling yourself with toxin, stress level, cortisol, all of it while you're trying to have kids, it will affect the baby. And the truth is, I'm not saying that out of my head, it's statistic. Why would there be such a big impact on kids being like this? That means there's something lacking in the parents that they don't provide that kid to be able to have all the nutrients or whatever it needs or fill with toxin. So why I'm talking about it, I think it's crucial that people realize how important it is, specifically if you want children, to make sure that you take care of your body so it could be the most loved, filled with nutrients, and like being really great for the kid you're gonna have.
Yeah, that's actually something we talk about a lot because we had our son, he's now 12, and he suffers from a lot of mental illnesses, and we can't help but wonder if it was all the negligence that we did in our lives. And even though I was probably my healthiest when we conceived him, I had still done a lot of damage in the past to my body. So it contributed to how he came out.
For sure.
And that's aside from autism, right? Like autism, we're not qualified to say how autism comes to be. Yeah. But I do know that mental illness is a real thing when you don't prioritize the 3 F's.
Yes. And also we see a lot of more and more kids having to take medicine, having to have like more attention from parents, and people says, oh, is it the new generation? Because you know what? A lot of things happen, but that is creating a huge impact on their children's health and well-being today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So hopefully yours is a bit more fun than mine.
I don't know if it's more fun, but according to the National Sleep Foundation, adults age 18 to 64 typically need 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. However, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, reports that about 1 in 3 adults in the United States do not get the recommended amount of sleep, which can significantly affect their overall health and quality of life. If you're a highly stressed person who doesn't eat well and doesn't work out, your sleep becomes even more crucial at this point, because then you can't become functional. You get brain fog. You get a whole bunch of symptoms that could be avoided.
Unfortunately, people, when they're in that bad cycle, they're probably not going to sleep well as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're not helping themselves. And I'm going to go again with sleeping. We were always going to bed around midnight, waking up around 8, sometime 9, being more tired. But we realized by sleeping with the cycle of the sun, it make us going a bit more earlier to bed, but we're waking up earlier and we have just more daylight. Why would you not want that?
I love so much that you brought that up because circadian rhythm is huge.
I know.
It's huge. So we have
better quality sleep now.
We have like a zoo, okay? I have 2 birds, 2 cats, and a dog. And anyone who studies animals, they will see that they wake up with the sun and they go to bed with the sun. And there's really a huge science behind that. As soon as you open your eyes and you see sun, it starts your digestive system going, okay, turn on this switch, turn on that switch. And then it makes you hungry all of a sudden, 30 minutes to an hour. But when you wake up, you're like, oh man, I'm hungry. That's by design. There's a reason for all of this. And when we wind down with the sun, we're not supposed to put loud music and streaming lights where we pretend that it's daytime. We're supposed to be winding down for that reason. So for a lot of people who suffer from insomnia or trouble sleeping, it's because they're not following the circadian rhythm.
And I agree with you because when I was working for a long time, I was always very tired in the morning, was not able to wake up at all. Now it's been almost 2 years I'm not working, and I'm waking up at 6:30 every morning.
Oh, yeah.
I never did that in my life, and I don't have to wake up at 6:30.
So you wake up naturally most of the time.
Not just this, but also I wake up and I make sure that I don't touch my phone for an hour. The first hour should be as important than going to bed. Because what I do in the morning, I do my red light therapy, my PMF mat, and after that, I do 30 minutes of law of frequency that I love to do. Just have great thoughts about what you like in life. So I started my first hour with just my influence chosen by just positive thoughts. So my day cannot start better than that.
That's wonderful, actually.
Yeah.
So to end this podcast, this is the fun part where we like to challenge each other with a would you rather question. Dun, dun, dun. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start.
All right.
Okay. So would you rather have a personal chef who prepares all your meals with nutritious ingredients or a personal trainer who guarantees an amazing workout every day but doesn't handle meal planning?
Ooh, I mean, holy crap. I think that really depends on bio-individuality at this point.
Or what you prefer doing or not.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm a person that doesn't need motivation to work out. So I would probably, I don't need motivation for food, but it was my last element. It was really hard for me to incorporate. So I would probably go with the chef.
I agree with you too, I think, because the chef will have more experience into how to maybe prepare specific food with different flavors that you would like and being very good foods that can taste good. So having a chef to be able to bring that would be amazing.
Yeah, that would actually.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay, you want to hear mine?
Yeah.
I can't pick this one because I know you'd like it. Okay. Would you rather follow a diet that's rich in your favorite foods but limits your portion sizes, or a more bland but balanced diet where you can eat as much as you want? So let's say if you're a person who loves popcorn, loves pizza, but you have to limit, right? You have to limit. So either and it all goes by hunger cues, right? So if you're a person who's like, I love popcorn and I can't stop until I finish the bag, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
But then you're a person who loves eating, so you would rather eat all this nutrient food, but an unlimited amount of it.
For sure, I would rather eat the good foods, specifically because now this is what I crave as well. So it's kind of like...
Pretend you weren't savvy. Pretend you were like...
If I would want pizzas like all the time, like few times, or eating neutral food with full of ingredients in it, not even a question for me. I would totally go like... I was the pizza guy in the morning. I was the Sprite every day. 2 milk.
He didn't drink water.
No.
He had Sprite at every meal.
So I ate really bad food like McDonald's. I don't remember when I had McDonald's, but like that just means that today, when you do realize, yes, that food tastes amazing, but when you start cleansing yourself, you'll see the food doesn't taste as good at some point, and they're gonna hurt you. So if you're telling me, do I want to hurt myself a bit every day, or just eat food that is more bland but my body will thrive, I'm gonna go with that.
Well, that sums up our first episode. Yep. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. It's literally our passion to talk about what we've learned. I think it's important for people to speak up when they learn something new.
Yes.
When something they've discovered that works for them, and we will continue. This is our promise. Yes. We will continue to do that on every episode.
And I want to thank you specifically for actually creating this amazing guide that gives you guys as much information as most simplified as you could get, so that way you can have everything you need to thrive. And I would thank you for that.
Oh, thanks. Oh, he's the cutest. So if you want a copy of this guide, which is free, all you need to do is download the Canva app. And once you click on my link, you have access to the whole thing. You can print it, you can save it on your phone, you can share it with a friend, and you don't have to share the whole thing. You can use parts that applies to you most. The point is that you start where you're at, and you don't have to pretend to be comfortable with something that you're not. So
exactly.
If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We will be putting our social media handles on the link to this podcast. And I hope you guys join us on our next one. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye.